So today is a by request. I had a request to do charts, and I'm looking exclusively inside the iWork infrastructure, which is Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. But because Numbers is a spreadsheet and it's in the business of doing charting and numbers, it's the most flexible app. So it's the one that I'm going to spend most of the time with. Everything that you learn inside Numbers is applicable inside Pages and Keynote, with one or two small exceptions. And given some time, we'll go through making a chart inside Pages and or Keynote. So with that, let me share my screen. So I'm going to start off with a pre-prepared document that I made. Making charts, obviously you need data to fill your charts. So I've started off with something very, very simple. In fact, I'm just going to lose the header over here, the topic over here. But I've got a small table, I've got a list of animals, I've got some numbers over here, and I want to represent them graphically. So the easiest way to do that is I select the table. I'm selecting the whole table. To make sure I've got the whole table selected, I just click on this dot over here, and you can see it's selected. And now if I choose chart, I can create a chart based on the contents of that table. So let's have a look at the type of charts we can make. So we have 2D charts, we have 3D charts, and we have interactive charts. We're going to deal with all of those during the course of this session. But the chart that you choose is often determined by the nature of the content. So over here, I've got a bar chart, a vertical bar chart, a horizontal bar chart. This is a stacked bar chart. So over here, each series, if I have multiple series like dogs, cats, and mice, it will show them as individual series. But over here, it might show it as something cumulative. So if I wanted to add up a total and have all of these things vertically and horizontally, this is another way I can do it. This is a horizontal chart. This is an area chart, pie charts, donut pie charts, line charts, scatter charts, double vertical axis charts. And I'll break this into concrete examples as we go through this. And then we have bubble charts. Now, as you see along the bottom, there are a number of different types or styles of the 2D charts. So if we just move across, you'll see the same number of charts, same kinds of charts, but designed slightly differently until we get to the end, in which case we wrap around and get back to the first one again. Similarly with the 3D, we've got multiple styles that are predefined, and same with the interactive charts. So let's start off with a 2D chart, and the content of this chart lends itself to a pie chart. So I'm going to click on the pie chart, and bang, it's built a pie chart for me. So I'm just going to move this over here and make it a bit larger so you guys can see what's inside here. So here's the content of our chart. It's referencing the content in our table. And if I want to see exactly how it's referencing it, if I click on Edit Data References at the bottom here, you'll see that these are the cells that it's using. It's automatically worked out that these are the labels that I want, and this is the content of the chart. If I didn't want the hamsters and geese, I can resize this chart, and now you can see I can select different elements of the chart. So I can say, I just want dogs and cats. I just want dogs, cats, and mice. So I can adjust once I've built my chart. I can adjust this. In addition, I can also change the styles of the charts as I go through over here. I've got a bunch of predefined styles. And for those of you who saw some of the earlier sessions that we did when we were doing some graphics inside Keynote Numbers, I can customize this. So if I've got a client that I'm making a chart for and I want it to reflect their corporate colors, I can make a new chart, and then I can create the style of that chart from an image. Now, on my desktop, I've got a graphic file of FNB's logo. You can see it down there. And if I choose that, it'll build a chart style based on their logo. So being an Apple product, it's basically very, very flexible in terms of its graphic options. And you've got a lot of opportunities to make your chart look really good. Okay, so let's go deeper into this chart. At the moment, it's showing our content as percentages. If we added those all up, this pie chart would be 100%. But in fact, we want to see this as the actual numbers. We don't want to see it as a percentage. So I'm going to go to my format pane here. And as you know, depending on what I have highlighted, the format pane is context sensitive. So over here with my table selected, I've got formatting options for the table. If I click on the chart, it changes to show me my content of my chart. So I want to go to wedges. And over here, you see your mileage may vary. You know, if you've never used these might all be closed up. Your disclosure triangles might all be closed up. And I want to go to the value data format. And instead of being a percentage, I want to change it to a number. So now I've got the numbers. So this is a lot easier for me to understand. I don't actually care about the percentages. I really want to know what the numbers of dogs, of cats, of mice, of goldfish, and so on. Now, if I wanted to present this and copy and paste it into a presentation or paste it into a document or make a PDF of it, I might not want to have all of this up at the top. So my legend up at the top, this is my legend. So if I click on my legend over here, you see I get some handles on the side and I can resize this. I can turn this into a vertical legend and I can move this around and I put this down here at the bottom. You can see you get your little alignment lines, your vertical and horizontal alignment lines. So it becomes very easy to make a beautifully laid out document over here. Okay, so we've got our legend over here, but I don't want to go backwards and forwards and look at, okay, 12, that's yellow. In fact, this particular chart, the colors in here, it doesn't really work that well because I've got two colors that represent the same things. So if I click back on my chart and I go to my labels, I can show the data point names. And if I click on data point names, you can see, oh, I only had that one selected. I now have the names of the items. So now I can select the legend. If I go back to my chart, I can turn off the legend because I've got all the content that I need inside the chart itself. And now I can move this around. I can resize this. I can reposition it. Okay, let's move on to our chart. We've been able to change the default styles. In fact, I'll go back to this one. And it's interesting over here, I've got a gray wedge of my pie chart that I don't like very much. So I can select the chart and can you see it's now highlighted that part of the chart? I can go to style and you can see the color fill on that. So I can go into here and I can say, well, you know, I want that one black, or I want that one to be a kind of forest green, a deep green, Lincoln green. Alternatively, I can go back to my chart and here I can adjust my fonts. So if I want my font to be, say, graphic, let's make it bold and let's increase the font size. So I've got a lot of adjustments that I can do from a representation point of view. I can adjust my chart colors, and you can see here we've got, again, some predefined sets of colors, which are different from the styles up above. There is some replication, but I can adjust this really according to my whim. There are some which have images inside there. So if you look closely, you'll see a kind of textured pattern behind that. And I also have textures. So if I want this to look like marble, or if I want this to look like wood, whatever that is, I can choose these textures and again make the chart look really the way that I want it to look. Right. So if I want to draw attention to maybe one of these elements, let's say I wanted to draw attention to the dogs, I can double click on this and I can literally drag the pie out. And when I do that, do you see how my format has changed to my wedge? I also have this control down here, which will allow me to adjust the center. So I can take it way out, bring it back in, and so on. If I want to bring it back to 0, I don't have to fiddle with dragging into over there. I can just drag this down and say, make that 0, and it's now part of the original chart. In addition, if I decide at a certain point that I don't want this to be a pie chart, I can change the chart type without actually rebuilding the chart and creating it from scratch. I can choose chart type, and I could make it a 2D column, stacked column, a bar. So if I wanted to see a 2D column, well, that's a 2D column. I'm going to go back to my original chart over there. What else can I do? Let's take this one and make it a 3D pie. Now I have a pie chart where I can move it around, change it, change the emphasis, change the location, change the angle. And if I go to my wedges over here, I choose my wedge position, I can actually split all of my pies. So I literally have a lot of control of all of the elements in my chart. I can rotate it around. So if I want the mice to be the most important part of my chart, I can put them to the top and have that reflected that way. So that's a simple pie chart. And as you can see, not necessarily so simple. So I'm going to delete this guy, and I'm going to make a new column. So I'm going to add a column over here, and I'm going to add some months over here. So I'm going to type January, and it auto completes it to January, February, and return. And to fill this in quickly, I'm just going to make a really simple formula. I'm going to make it equal that plus, let's just take 10. And I'm going to select this and fill, I'm going to select that and fill it down. And now it's done the same thing. In February, we've got 10 more of these animals than we had in the previous month. So now I want to make a different type of chart. Now I showed you that I could make a chart by selecting this and choosing chart, but I can do it another way. I can make a chart, and in this case, let's make this a bar chart. And what it asks me to do over here is to add my chart data. So if I click on this, you can see how the cursor changes. So I'm going to start here and just drag through the entire set. And now I have a chart which has two sets of values. You've got our dogs, January and February, cats, January, February, mice, January and February, and so on. And once again, exactly the same rules apply that we had before. So now I've got my different styles, but because this is a bar chart and not a pie chart, we have the ability to change and set options for the axis in the series. So the first thing I want to do is just show you, let's turn this into a 3D column because that's more fun. Let's make this a little bit bigger so we've got some room to play with. And I'm going to increase the size over here. And once again, just like my pie chart, I can rotate it around, I can choose my angles, set it up the way that I want it to look. So let's have a look at some more of these chart options. The legend is showing up at the top. I can turn on a caption. You can see down here, I can caption this and it will stay with the chart wherever I move it. I can add a title, which is slightly off screen at the moment. Let's just click here and drag this down, add the title, and there you can see we've added a title over there. I can change my font, I can change my font size and change my colors, which you've seen before. But now we also have additional features we can add to the 3D scene. So I can change my chart depth to make it a little bit more dramatic. If I want this to look like an Art Deco introduction to a movie somewhere, maybe 20th Century Fox. I can change the lighting style, soft fill, hard fill, default style, glossy. And remember, we also have our textures. So we can make this wood, we can make this marble, we can make this whatever we want to do. So let's settle for this. It's garish enough. Because this is a bar chart, we can do things like we can increase the space between the columns. So this would be the space between the columns of the same set. So the columns of dogs, the columns of cats. So if I wanted to increase the spacing between them, I could do that. Alternatively, I could increase the space between the sets. So now I can see much more clearly that these two are grouped together, as are these two, as are these two, as are these two. We can increase our shadows. We've got a shadow that's on, but I could change the opacity of the shadow. I could increase the blur. So again, a lot of graphics that I can change. So let's go back to our axes and our labels. And over here, we've got our y-axis, which would be the vertical axis over here, and our x-axis, which is our axis down at the bottom. Now, one of the things you may find is that if you've got a small chart like that, can you see it's not showing all of the categories? You're seeing dogs, mice, and geese, but you're not seeing the cats, you're not seeing the goldfish. And under the x-axis label, if you see category labels, AutoFit will try and adjust it appropriately, but in this case, we're losing some data. So I can say show all the labels, and now all of these labels come back in. So just something, if it catches you, you may find, oh, some of my labels are missing. You have to go to the appropriate axis and make sure that all your category labels are showing. Now, at the moment, we've got our y-axis, and you can see our highest number is 50, our lowest number is 0, but it's a little difficult to work out what's what over here. So let's go to our series, and I can choose to show value labels. So if I choose number, you can see the numbers are now represented on top of that chart. And if I double click on any one of these numbers, it selects all the numbers in that series. And at this point, I can change that. I can make those bold, and we can do them independently for each series. So if you wanted to have a different color, a different number, maybe this was a different color and you needed to change it to make it stand out, you can do that very, very easily with your font formatting for each individual item in the series. Okay, so that's our bar charts. Another option that we've got is an interactive chart. So I'm just going to delete this one. I'll just delete the whole series. And I'm going to add another column. Let's make this March. And I'm going to take this calculation and fill it right, just for pure convenience, and then fill everything down. So now we have January, February, and March. We've got 3 sets of values that we're measuring our dog and cat population increase over the first quarter of the year. Now, to the best of my knowledge, this is only available in Pages, Numbers, and Keynote. I don't know if it's available in any of the other spreadsheet applications, but the ability to make an interactive chart. And an interactive chart is really nice, because if I was to make just a traditional chart over here, we've got quite a lot of data, but I have to really look reasonably closely to see what the trends are, what things look like, and so on, whether things have gone up and down. And an interactive chart gets rid of all of that. So with this still selected, I'm going to go to my chart and choose an interactive chart. And let's just take this one over here. And what this does is in this particular instance, it's building one screen full per row. So at the moment, I can see all of the dogs, cats there were more of, mice there were more of, goldfish, geese, and hamsters. So this way, I can jump between any of my sets and see what the changes in particular here. This is by breed or by animal category, but actually this isn't really useful for me. What I want to see is what the overall growth or decline is over months. So if I go to edit my data reference, you can see this little pop-up over here. This is because I am viewing this by row, by category. If I click on here, I can plot my rows as a series instead of a column as a series. And what this does now is it changes it to January, February, and March. And now I can see all of my animals. And I click on them and I can see the growth or the decline over the three months. So this is a very, very nice little chart option that we've access to and that we can build. The next chart I wanted to look at is one that I talked about earlier, where we may want to have, say, two y-axes. So in this particular example, this is comes from one of the school projects that we worked with one of our schools, where there was set a task where the client in this particular travel agency wanted to travel between January and May. They wanted the temperature to be above 12 degrees centigrade, and they want the rainfall to be lower than 45 millimeters. So I'm just using one of the charts, but the kids went and did some research on a variety of different cities. There was Auckland, and I think Barcelona was the other one. And what we want to do is literally have two charts, one that shows us the average temperature and one that showed us the average rainfall. And to do that, we use the chart that gives us the double y-axis. So if I take that chart and I go 2D, you can see this one over here has two types of charts. It's got a line chart and it's got a bar chart. So if I click on that one, you can see now that we have a chart which is spread across the year, January through to December, but this axis is showing us the average rainfall in millimeters, and this axis is showing us the average temperature in Celsius. So over here, you can see the temperature is 0 to 20. And if you look over here, there is nothing under the temperature, which is greater than temperature, whereas the average rainfall over here, your values are now being shown on the right-hand side. So if we were to go to our axes, you can see we've got two y-axes. If I click on value 1 and show axis name, I can give it a name. And here, axis 2, turn that on, you can see that we have two separate axes over here, each one representing a different set of values. Now, this is laid out reasonably nicely, but maybe we wanted to increase the number of lines that were appearing. So in this particular one, excuse me, our steps, value number 1, are appearing in, it's saying it's doing it in 4, but it looks like it's doing it in 5. So let's step this up and let's say make it 10 steps. We can now see a little bit more clearly, just looking at the values without putting our value labels on here, how close it comes. And because 20 is the max, if we went up to 20 in total, you would be able to see exactly how it cross-referenced against that chart. So I've shown you 4 different types of charts. We've looked at pie charts, we've looked at bar charts, we've looked at interactive charts, and we've also looked at charts which might have multiple axes. The last thing I want to do, I'm just going to hide this guy, is that where you want to make these charts inside something like Pages, for example, all of the tools that you had there are available as well. The only difference being is that because Pages and Keynote don't necessarily have a spreadsheet, how do you get the data in? So if I make a chart over here and I click, let's say, a pie chart over here, instead of saying edit chart reference data, if I click edit chart data, I get a little spreadsheet over here where I can now put in my values. So if I change this, say, to dogs, cats, mice, geese, you can see this all changing in real time in the legend up at the top over here. So that's really the only difference between the two. But once we've got our chart, we have exactly the same tools. We can change our wedges, we can change our values. If it was about, we've got all our chart styles, we've got our shadows, we can change the types just as before. And now we're in Pages, we're not inside Numbers. So you don't have to create them in Numbers and copy and paste them into here. You're all good to go with exactly the same type of tool set that you had inside Numbers. So that's pretty much where I want to stop for today. I think it's quite a lot. I hope there's something you can take away from it. And at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and throw it open to questions.
So a question I have immediately is that, are you limited to only 2 y-axes?
2 y-axes, Brian, honestly, I don't know, but I'll check it out and look it up for you. I mean, it depends on the type of chart that you wanted to have, right?
My challenge is that I have months down the Y chart, and and labels across the X. And I'm looking at variables that could be as low as 10 and as high as 20,000.
Right.
And I'm trying to see, do I have to create maybe 3 different charts to cater for the lower series of numbers and then put the bigger series of numbers with their labels in another chart? It's where I'm thinking.
Okay, well, one of the options that you've got, Brian, is that you have got a logarithmic view. At the moment, the view that we were viewing was literally 1 unit is 1 fixed increment of size on the screen.
Okay.
And if you have a logarithmic view, it doesn't, to our eyes, we tend to see, bigger is more and so on. But you can, if you have a look at the logarithmic view and then still put the numbers over there, you'll be able to fit everything on the screen so that you don't end up with something invisible down at the bottom because there's only 10 units and 20,000 up at the top. I'd experiment with the logarithmic view as opposed to the linear view.
Super, thank you very much.
It was excellent. I do use it quite a lot, actually, and I have to say, it's one application I just went straight to. I used it. It's just so easy to use, and I use it once a month, updating figures. It's an absolute pleasure, though I had no idea you could do so much more. I have to say, I just do the basic. It works. I'm happy. So I'm going to experiment a bit more.
It's really worth. It's so laid out just there in front of you, and the fact that the format bar is contextual. You just have to double click on something to see if anything changes on the side. Like I said, if I double clicked on the wedge, the format bar automatically changed to wedges. And so some of it is kind of hidden, but it just reveals the tools. Instead of having one long column that had everything inside it, the fact that it just reveals what you need at that time, to me, is one of the strengths rather than the weaknesses. But it does require a certain amount of playing and experimentation to see what's available. All right, guys, thank you so much for joining us. Lovely to have you here, and we look forward to doing more and seeing you again. Thanks again.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks, Angelo.
Hey, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Bye. Thank you, Heidi.